Well, I got an update from a couple people that I'm supposed to be getting about 15 inches of snow in the next couple days, which isn't great because my snowblower carburetor that I ordered is not going to be here until, well, at least a week. And that carburetor is no good on an engine on a snowblower that has a locked up gearbox. So, as I was mentioning earlier, I'm going to have to take this engine off and put it onto this guy here. And I'm going to attach it to the front of this Polaris here and just have the winch operate the up and down. I could, of course, call a plow truck out here, but every guy I know with a plow truck pushes the piles in just the worst place possible every single year. They love to put them right on some of the paths I take to the back garage, and in fact last year I didn't even have access to the back garage because they kept putting the piles there and putting the piles there until I borrowed a friend of mine's Bobcat and I was able to move it, but I wasn't able to access the garage until, I don't know, mid to late February. So for 3-4 months there I was just screwed if I needed anything back there, because last winter we had to have gotten at least 3.5 feet back there. You could not walk through it or anything. And I thought Mother Nature was going to give me another week or two, which was just stupid of me because I do that every year. So, yeah, guess we'll see how it goes, how far I can get. While I'm cleaning out the garage and getting the Polaris and then John Deere blower attachment in here, I did just rob the carburetor off the 8-horse that was sitting in the back. I don't like this little drain attachment they have on the bottom. It leaks like hell all the time. I don't know if that's what it is. I'll take it off, and if it looks like it has something to do with the amount of fuel output, then I'll just leave it, but otherwise I'm going to take the fuel ball off the 10-horse carburetor, and according to online they are exactly the same. Might have to dial in a little bit more fuel for the 10-horse, I'm not sure, but anyways, I got the carb cleaner heating up, and I will do a time lapse of that cleaning out. It's got the same solution as what was in there for the last one, which isn't ideal, but I'm pretty sure I cleaned this carb already, but it's been sitting for a few months, so I'll just quick give it a run through and get any gunk cleaned out that's in there. Well, I got the other carburetor apart, and it looks exponentially better than the other one. The O-ring is pretty much on there permanently. I mean, it's not cracked, so I'm just going to leave it. You can see there's a little bit of some nasty gelled up kind of varnishy fuel on the actual needle there, but that's not bad at all. I mean, considering how bad the other one was, I am glad I'm cleaning it. You should always clean the carb if it's been sitting for any longer than a year without any sort of fuel stabilizer in it, because it will make it run differently. But I might have been able to get away with just running a can of seafoam through it, but I got the carb cleaner warmed up. I've got it. I may as well use it. Alright, well, I have made some progress. I know where I'm going to actually mount the thing. The frame on the ATV is actually pretty much perfectly spaced apart for the two little ear style hooks right here. I also found out that the engine itself spins counterclockwise, and that's the way the augers on that need to be spinning in order to shoot snow out the correct direction, and that'd be if I mount it right on the side, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Did get the mounter pulled off as well. 2 of the 4 bolts I had to cut off with the Sawzall, but pretty light considering. I mean, for being 10 horsepower, it's not as heavy as I honestly was expecting it to be. I couldn't really find a specification online for how fast this needs to be spinning. I'll kind of make more progress once I get it all apart. The good news, though, is it is a pretty small pulley on the actual engine, and I imagine it's going to be a pretty big pulley underneath the cover here. That way it'll have some pretty good gear reduction in it, so the 10 horsepower, there's no chance of it not having enough power to sling snow as long as I put this thing in forward low and just kind of cruise along. I don't plan on hitting massive snow piles with it. I just plan on the second it starts snowing, going out and doing 2-3 passes throughout the day, as long as I don't get an incredible amount. Alright, looks like we just finished up the ultrasonic cleaner. I'm going to let that cool off for a minute there and let my air compressor charge up here. Well, I got this kind of ballpark idea where I'm going to put it. Now, of course, I am running into a problem here. I noticed kind of an interference issue. It's going to be with this guy. When it is turned like this, let's say it's going to be flinging snow. For example, if I got, for some reason I can't fling snow that direction, and I got to fling it that direction. Well, that ain't going to work. I would have to enclose the engine somehow and basically create a whole new pipe for this, because I can't have this thing getting soaked in snow. So then my other thought was to move the engine down around this area, and that'll clear any issues I have with the auger pushing out snow. But I don't know. When I had it mocked up to the ATV, I didn't like how close this externals part here, where this whole bracket with the pulleys is welded on. I honestly was just going to cut that off because it was riding pretty close to the tires. I could solve that by moving the snowblower forwards. Then I'll run into the issue of the engine being close to the ATV as well. So it's going to be a tight fit. It's not going to be as simple as I thought it was, and I didn't even think it was going to be simple to begin with. That's where it's always a good idea to just constantly be checking clearance and kind of mark things out, whether it be with a paint marker or anything like that, because I could have dug out the welder, made up some brackets, called it good. That's why I checked the functionality of everything, making sure that the auger was going to clear everything, and just moved everything around. And yeah, so alright, I wanted to give you guys an update here. I don't have my microphone pack on me or anything, so I don't know how the audio is going to turn out, if it's going to be windy or not. This doesn't have a pop filter on it. I got the Polaris up in here. The little 10-horse carburetor, or 8, 9, 10 horse that I grabbed off the snowblower in the back, actually has a pinhole in the housing. So it just pissed fuel everywhere. Unfortunately, this idea is going to have to be put on hold. I was going to try to mess with getting these smaller ones fixed up, but I mean, it's just pissing it down outside the last few minutes here. You end up walking, you lose your tracks, so I mean, you can hardly even see the tracks where I drove in, and that was not even 10 minutes ago. So I got to get the plow thrown back on here. Now, like I had mentioned, the plow mount was complete garbage on this thing. It just kept bending and bending, and this is the metal here. Basically, this would sit on the back of the plow mount, and you can see just how warped it is and everything. And this is after I've straightened it already, because I was thinking I was going to reuse that, but no, that's too far gone. So what I did, I don't know why they ever did it this way, but this was right here, and I mean, you can see me pushing and pulling on this. Lifts the entire fucking whole front of the four-wheeler up. So all the weight was getting pushed on that. It was starting to push into the radiator. The fan started ticking whenever the radiator fans would click on. So yeah, this whole idea was complete garbage. The metal was mangled. I just cut it off. And I took the snowplow bracket and just welded straight onto the frame. And I know they look like crap, but it's because the welding wire I have is rusty and it's windy, and I just need it to be structurally sound. And as you can see, the metal is obviously fused. As long as it's fused and melted together, that's all that matters. Now, I have brackets made up for the back of this that are connect to that little shaved off piece of metal right there, basically right back down to where that piece of metal coming from the top connects to. So that way it'll have some sort of support pushing it back instead of just this. It's how they should have done it from the start. Before, they just had that thin piece of metal. You can kind of see the outline of where it used to go. And of course, since this up here was so flimsy, it would push and bend that metal and bend that metal. and it was basically like you had your snowplow cocked to the left when you had it in the straight position after you plowed a few times. And so I could be doing a non-permanent fix here with some nuts and bolts and drill bits, but honestly the ATV is kind of nearing the end of its life cycle anyways, and I would like to trade to something different. This isn't even mine, it's my stepdad's, and I would prefer like a 500 or something that has pull and electric start, because up here in the winter in Minnesota it gets pretty fucking cold, as you can imagine, and I had to put my battery out of my 350 on the back here because it just, nothing else had the cranking amps. Good battery plus another small go-kart battery on the back just wouldn't do it for a big 800cc engine. I'm not going to be able to get any video of me welding since I only took a break here to do a quick breather, let everything, all the metal I just cut cool down, and I'll show you once it's all fabbed together so you can kind of see what it looks like and how it works. Alright, I got it all put together. I've done one pass so far. The geometry isn't quite 100% correct, and I'm going to have to make another bracket for the front of this because it's just hanging on there loose. But the welds over here turned out quite a bit better. I don't know how well you can see that, but I mean, that's usually how my welds go. They start off like shit and progressively get better. But I had this terminal here come off while I was driving, so I got to tighten this down and go back to plowing here. There, that's not going anywhere now. So I'll snug that one up. But yeah, the plow is able to articulate either straight, slightly offset, or fully offset. And right now, if I fully offset it, you can see it's pretty damn close to that tire down there. So that's one issue. The other issue is this winches it up to lift it off the ground, and of course this isn't really supported by much anymore, and the actual plow here is hitting the way I welded my bracket on. Say it's welded like this, I should have welded it a little bit more like that. It's most likely more like this, and it's just like a ½ inch deflected down further than it should be, but I can fix that by grinding a little bit off the plow itself, or even by cutting right here, moving, or more so on a straight spot down here, cutting, moving, putting a piece of pipe in about 3 inches, or square tubing about 3 inches longer, and that way it'll give me enough lift and no width away from the tires. But for what I'm doing, I don't need it to go quite that far off. This is plenty of a slant right here. So I'm gonna be plowing the driveway here, and hopefully it holds together. This is more just a temporary fix until I got the snowblower idea working. Alright, well, this here is a little electric snow shovel that I found at the dump. Brand is Snowworks. And honestly, it works pretty damn good. The only problem is like that, you're supposed to be using 2 hands, so. Alright, so one quick thing that I wanted to mention here as I'm editing this video. I did get about 10-15 minutes of video of me actually plowing with the new snowplow attachment welded onto the ATV. The problem was I didn't have the camera angled right on my headband mount, whatever you want to call it. Although we did get like another 4 or 5 inches of snow since I plowed, so I gotta do that again tomorrow. I will be uploading a video of actually plowing with the plow mount, so you'll be able to see how that works.